Alrighty, and welcome back to another episode of the Comics Around the World podcast. As always, I am one of the co-hosts, Orion Sky Comics, aka Mateo, and as always, I'm joined by
What's up, Woody, aka Frankie? How's it going,
awesome,
dude?
pretty good, pretty good. Almost spring break, and yeah, I'm excited to just have a break from school and all the chaos that comes from it.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right. So today is going to be a special themed episode. Today we're going to talk about Shazam, one of my favorite characters of all time. If you guys saw the last episode, uh, it was number two of my favorite heroes of all time, which
Yeah.
almost swept, but
Almost.
but definitely check out the episode. But since as the recording tonight, Shazam: Fury of the Gods will be coming out. I will be seeing it tonight. I'm pretty excited about it. I did see some of the reviews. You know, I heard the reviews were saying like it's like an average superhero movie. Like it's a lot of fun, but nothing too much substance or. But I did hear it's better than the first one.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so I'm excited regardless if I'm gonna like if it's a generic superhero movie or something that changes the game. I'm still gonna love it either way because I love Shazam and I'm very biased towards that. But yeah, so today, if you guys remember our Kang episode a while back, the way we got to structure this is I read Shazam's first appearance and then some of his earlier works. Woody here is going to read some more of his recent runs, and then we both read Shazam from the New 52. So you guys just heard my dog bark because he's annoying. But yeah, if you want, I can start. I can get started for Shazam.
That was your dog saying Shazam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to provide a brief history for Shazam. So his first appearance was in Wiz Comics issue number one in the 1940s. Funny enough, the Shazam comics back then outsold Superman comics to the point where like DC was like a little like afraid of it, and they actually sued Fawcett Comics, which published Wiz Comics, for copyright infringement because they found too many similarities between Shazam and Superman. And then after all of that, DC acquired the character in 1972. And the comic book that I'm going to be discussing is the 1972 run of Shazam, where he's introduced to the Marvel, not the Marvel, but the DC universe. The way he's introduced is pretty interesting, so I'm excited to talk about that. So the comic book that I read that features the 1970s run of Shazam is Shazam: The Mightiest Mortal Volume 1. And it starts off with, his origin, his like how like he became Shazam first, and then later on it discusses how where was he essentially? Because that's like one of the main things. Um, he's been gone for like 20 years, right? And like just to try to tie in like his absence in the past 20 years from Fawcett Comics to DC Comics, they found an interesting way to do that. So, without further ado, let me get started on this. So, Billy Batson is introduced to the DC universe after being acquired by Fawcett Comics, like I just said. So his origin is basically a very similar to what we know right now, but a little weird, as you might expect from a 1940s superhero origin story. So he's led down to a subway station by a mysterious hooded man. Um, already weird enough.
Shouldn't follow that guy.
Already weird enough. And he's led to a subway car that takes him to the Rock of Eternity. We see the wizard Shazam give Billy his powers. Um, as you guys might know, the wizard Shazam is on a throne, and in this he's still on the throne, but there's a huge block of rock, like a perfectly like a rectangle block in front, like above him, dangling by a string. So when the wizard Shazam bestows and transfers his power to Billy, the string snaps and just falls on the wizard, and he's dead. So that's how it goes. But he's not permanently dead. He's only dead physically, as I said in the comics. His spirit or like his astral form is still lingering. He has to light a torch to like summon the wizard Shazam in case Shazam, or in this case, Captain Marvel, because that's what he's referred to um, throughout this whole series. Captain Marvel needs anything, he just summons the Wizard Shazam for like any reason. So the explanation for his 20-year absence is the following. So Dr. Savannah and his family, which the design of Dr. Savannah and his family is pretty funny because he kind of looks like a goblin version of Dr. Doofenshmirtz, and his son and daughter look the exact same. So he has like the big hook nose and like the wrinkly face. It's pretty, it's pretty funny. So Dr. Savannah tries to take over the world and rule the universe, as he says. But in order to stop Billy, Captain Marvel Jr., who is Freddie Freeman, and Mary Marvel, he puts them in like a bubble of suspended animation, along with like a bunch of other like civilians who got caught in like the tractor beam ray thing. Um, so that happens, and Shazam, it was Dr. Savannah's son. He's trying to pat him on Dr. Savannah on the back for like his great accomplishment, but he pats him so hard that Dr. Savannah knocks into the controls, and the rocket dives into the suspended animation bubble, and it just gets stuck there, orbiting the sun for 20 years.
All because he, all because he tried to pat him on the back.
Yeah, he like smacks him in the back of the head and like knocks him forward. So I was like,
Nice.
That's fair enough. So as like the bubble approaches the sun more and more, um, the bubble begins to melt, and Captain Marvel is the first one to get freed. Then he saves Mary Marvel and Captain Marvel Jr. and the rest of like the civilians, and then he saves Dr. Savannah and his children. Um, the funny thing, how that issue ends is they all basically end on a happy note. Like Shazam's carrying all three of the Savannahs away, and they all have like a big grin on their face, saying like, "Thanks, Shazam, for saving our lives." And that's how that's how that goes. And for the remaining stories in this book, it's mainly just like anthology stories, kind of like what you expect in like like the early Silver,
Yeah.
that type of age of comics. There's no really connection between any of them, and but there were some that I really liked that's really stood out, which was really interesting. So issue number 2 kind of focuses on Billy Batson trying to adjust to the modern world, aka instead of the 40s, he's trying to adapt to like the 70s essentially, and it's pretty hard for him because he's still in like the mindset of 40s slang, for the 40s wardrobes, everything like that, and like everyone's like in their like they portray like the civilians in this are as like hippies, so everyone's like far out, man, like that's rad and all that stuff. So they portray everyone as hippies, and he's trying to fit into all this. And the main villain, and this is all in issue 2. So the main villain is Mr. Mind, and I already talked to you about this, how they describe Mr. Mind. He's basically an alien worm or a caterpillar, who's like he's like super smart. He's like the smartest of like the universe or whatever. He's basically the super smart worm, and one of the things that stood out to me in the way they described him was he had, and I quote, the conscience of Hitler. So he has the mindset and evilness of Hitler, but as a little alien worm like this big.
Caterpillar.
Yeah.
Caterpillar Hitler.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, that's a pretty interesting way to describe the worm. But it was the 40s. Obviously, there's like a lot of propaganda against the Axis powers during that.
Yeah.
So
Captain America punched Hitler, and I think one of the covers.
Yeah. So it's not anything out of the ordinary, but still weird in and of itself. But to go further along with issue number 2, Billy has this friend called Talking Tawny, and he's basically an anthropomorphic tiger who runs a museum. He's a museum tour guide, but he's like his best friend. So he just goes to visit.
Wait, so this,
Tawny.
and because Tawny's in one of the comics we read, is this tiger in this story? Does it talks?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, he talks. It's so weird because like he has like the museum tour guy like outfit, and he's like showing everyone like the museum, and it's like it's so weird. It's so weird, but I'm like, okay. Um, so he goes to to hang out with like Tawny at the museum, but the museum collapses because Mr. Mind orchestrated like all like the bugs or the ants underneath like the foundation of the museum to like basically weaken it and like collapses like the museum. Shazam obviously goes in and saves everyone and finds out that Mr. Mind is responsible for all this. So he goes to the circus to track down a former member of the Monster Society of Evil. His name is Herkheimer. He's like an alligator, essentially. But he's now
Ooh,
reformed.
animals.
Yeah. So he's like now reformed. He likes being in the circus. So he tells him like, "Oh yeah, Mr. Mind told me to come to St. Louis to reform the Monster Society of Evil, but he didn't. He decided not to because he likes the circus life. He wants to stay where he is. Um, so Shazam goes to St. Louis, and as he's traveling to St. Louis, like they're going to the Arc, like the big archway.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I got you.
Mr. Mind sees him and fires an atomic expanding missile. So basically, his plan is to destroy not the United States as a whole, but first the West Coast, then the East Coast. So he's pretty strategic on which part he wants to destroy first. So he fires that missile, and it's shaped like a football. And keep in mind, since it's shaped like a football, there's like a face at like the point of it too. With like a grumpy, just like those blocks in Mario that like they crash down every so often.
Yeah.
It has that face.
The thwomps. The
Yeah.
thwomps.
So of course, since it's shaped like a football, Shazam punts it into space, and like it detonates in space, and nothing happens. So I don't know if this is true or not. Um, but he says in the comics that fishermen use like a tuning fork or something and like flicks it or like flicks anything that has vibrations and makes all the worms from the ground like you know emerge from the ground. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought it was pretty interesting. So he literally pulls back the arch, and then like flicks it. So like the whole arch is vibrating, all the worms from the ground are like emerging out, and Mr. Mind obviously comes out. Then the way Shazam defeats Mr. Mind is basically sealing him into a mason jar, sealing it and putting it into a prison cell, and that's how he's defeated.
I mean, that kind of correlates to the New 52, I think. The
Well,
one we
yeah,
both
because
read.
he is in the mason. He isn't
Yeah,
like in a jar.
yeah, he is encapsulated in a jar. So
Yeah,
we see, maybe that leads.
yeah. The smartest thing in the universe with the conscience and the personality of Hitler gets trapped into a jar, and that's how he defeated. Um, but with so that's like another issue. The issues that follow just get more bizarre. There is one issue which I thought was the weirdest. There's this kid, and whenever anyone approaches this kid, they have the urge to give the kid whatever they have. So it's like
Okay.
they're like saying, "Oh my God, look how sweet this kid! Here, have my Rolex, have my jewelry, have all my money." There were these bank robbers that were robbing either a bank or a jewelry store. They were robbing something, and they have the suitcase full of cash, and they see the kid, and they're like, "Oh, we had to get this kid like all the cash because like look at him. He's like he looks so cool." So they give the kid like all everything. The robber's boss were saying like, "How can you just give away the cash?" And then we're like, "Oh, we don't know. It just happened. We just had to. It's like an urge that we have to like give him our cash and everything what we have." And so the boss goes like, "Let me talk to this kid." He goes to the kid and says, "You have something in mind, and it's a lot of money, but I feel like it's not enough for you. So here, have all the cash in my wallet. Here's my watch. Here's my like my really expensive coat. Have everything, and keep in mind." like this kid is equally as confused as like the reader. Like the kid's like, I don't want any of this. Like, what are you doing? Like, get away from me. But like, the kid, like basically whatever he gets, he like donates to charity. So I guess like that's a good side of it. He's not like keeping for himself, but he has like a whole closet full of like things that people give him. But like he's equally as confused as to why people are giving like him all like their valuables to him. And it's never explained. It's never explained.
Never.
It's not explained. So it just
What?
ends off just like
It just ends.
it ends with the kid getting the medal, like a medal of honor and the key to the city for helping Shazam defeat like the robbers. So the kid takes all the credit. And like he was like, "Well, I didn't do anything. Shazam did all the work." And then everyone's like, "No, no, you did a great, kid." And Shazam's like, "Yeah, you did great, kid." Because like Shazam is still like under like the whatever spell everyone else is in. So like he like helps him out like whenever essentially. And it's never explained. It just ends with like the kid getting the key to the city and the Medal of Honor, and that's it. And
Well,
like if that's not in the movie, I'm gonna be very upset.
yeah, we need the Magic Kid.
I know. There was one other one. What was it? Uh, oh yeah. So since Billy is like struggling to like adapt with like the new time he's in, he goes to the Wizard Shazam and asks for like to be like aged up essentially. So the Wizard's like, "Are you sure?" Because they kind of messed up with the time stream. And he was like, "Yeah, no, no, I'm sure. I want to try to fit in because this is like I want to be a kid with like the mindset of like a 30-year-old." And he's like out of time, so I want to be like grown up. So the Wizard does that. He ages him up to like what he should be. See what 30? He's like in his early to mid 30s, more or less. He does that, and the main problem is since now he's an adult, every time he says Shazam, he turns into a kid and wears like everything like the Shazam thing. So like the
That's kind of
ages
cool.
like switch. Um, I don't know if it's the structure of the comic book that I read, but this is what I found like kind of like off about like the comic book as a whole and the way it was like layered. So it ends with like him trying to like figure out how to revert back. But then like the next issue is a completely different story. So I'm like what's going on? Like because like, I was like I got so confused. Like this is like a completely different story. It's not like a part two or anything. Because back then, like one of like, the popular things to do, because I know it was evident in like the Batman runs or like the early runs or like they did like 7 page stories, part one, part two, part three, part four, all that stuff. I thought it was gonna be the same thing with this one, but like it wasn't there. It just like ends up with him flying away trying to find who did it, and it says here, find out next issue who did it, and then like I'm like, who did it? I'm like I can't find anything. But that was kind of like the main thing where like it's not obviously like the writer's fault, but like it's like the way like the book was structured. I don't know if it was just my copy. I got it digitally, so I read mine because I've always had it in my comicsology library because I bought it a while back because during like Christmas time they do ridiculous sales on
Yeah,
comicsology. So I went like like a spending like splurge. I spent $100 and I got like 80 comics.
yeah. I was about to say if you spend 100, because I mean sometimes they're like $2
Yeah,
a book.
yeah, and it's great. And it's like not even like the little like 100-page books like like the epic collections. They have their own separate sale, huge savings. It's crazy. It puts a really big hole in my wallet.
You can buy Omnis for like $10 sometimes.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's one of the benefits of digital reading right there. Look at that.
True, true.
But yeah, like I don't know what's wrong. Like the way that they mapped it out was like wrong or anything like that. But like it just like starts a story and just never finishes it.
He goes
I'm
up
like,
to find the.
yeah, it's like a do it yourself. You find it. You have to figure it yourself. I'm like, I don't know.
That's
But that's
funny.
basically the what Shazam the Mightiest was it the Mightiest Mortal? Yeah, Volume One is. It's a bunch of collections of Shazam's comic book runs from the '70s and the DC continuity. what I liked about this is like even though it's like dated, it's not like the type of dated books how like they're like super dense in dialogue.
Yeah,
It's like the same amount of dialogue you would get today. Like there's like no like big chunk of like exposition or anything like that. It's just like it's reasonable
yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
It's reasonable, and that's why I liked like the golden and silver age comics of Shazam essentially because it's like that. It's just, like it's simple from like and like they still like describe everything that they're doing, but like it's more in a reasonable sense. And I like the artwork a lot. It reminds me of like the Tintin comic strips. It's like exactly like that, which I liked it because it's different from all the other silver and golden age comics. Essentially, that's why I liked it. But it's very dumb, but it's dumb fun. Obviously, like I just said, some of the stories are ridiculous. But unlike early Silver Age, late Golden Age stories, it's not dense with dialogue, which is a major plus for me at least. The artist is CC Bex, which is interesting because CC Beck is, or the at least the name CC is Shazam's father in the continuity that we're in right now. So it's kind of like a little tie into like
yeah. That's pretty
appreciation
cool.
of the original characters or the creators. I mean, it's different and great, and the art, like I said, the artwork is like the Tintin comic strips, which I appreciated. Um, and yeah, that's early Shazam right there.
Yeah, I I might have to try and check it out because if it doesn't have like dense with dialogue, that that does interest me a bit more because those early comics, like you said,
Yeah,
sometimes it just gets really overwhelming with the dialogue and exposition and yeah.
that's it at least. Yeah,
All right, well, yeah, so that's all you've got. And then I read, it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to read. I was gonna read Jeff Johns. It's like Into the Magic Lands or something.
Mhm.
I can't remember exactly. I still have that downloaded on my tablet. I still want to read that. But I ended up going with I forgot the technical name of it. It's like Superman Thunder. Hold on, let me
It's
go.
the Superman Shazam First Thunder.
Let's see. It is Superman. Yeah, Superman Shazam First Thunder.
Hmm.
Um, so this is like 5 issues, I think. I can't remember exactly, but I'll first start off with the art. I really like stylized art, and this art is like that, but sometimes it can get a little too
Yeah,
stylized. It's sometimes like the lines for the characters and stuff, they're kind of like all over the place, and
I get
the
what you mean.
faces the faces can look weird here. They can look good, but they can also look really weird sometimes. But
Yeah,
overall, I thought it was pretty interesting. It was a unique art style. I liked it. But the story starts out with some guys robbing a bank, and Superman's fighting them. Fighting off these robbers, and we kind of get some hints as to what they're doing. They're like a little cult. They're working for somebody. But and then it flashes to Shazam, who is fighting these giant robots, and they were trying to destroy this guy, Bruce Gordon, his like corporation. He's like,
okay.
he's got some kind of corporation. And then it cuts to Savannah, and he kind of reminds me of like what you were describing in the first appearance, where he's got this big nose. He's like a
Yeah,
kind of short, shriveled old man. Um, and he's pretty much Lex Luthor 2.0 in this comic. He's pretty much just another Luthor. And we find out he put up the giant robots to ruin Bruce Gordon, which is his competition, and
classic.
Shazam stopped it, obviously. So yeah, even Savannah's assistant was like, yeah, maybe like doing giant robots was kind of like over the top and stupid, and maybe, and he's like, shut up, like I don't want to hear it. Assistant, like the assistant acknowledges like how that was just like kind of dumb, but
Right.
Savannah's like, you know what, I need to call Lex Luthor to help because Lex Luthor knows how to deal with guys in capes. So and the assistant's like, wait, you hate Lex Luthor? He's like, yeah, but I need to do it. So then at the end of the first issue, we see Shazam trying to stop the same robbers doing a different robbery. And then Superman pops in. He's like, hello there, what's up? And I love it because Shazam, he's a kid, so he like freaks out. He's like, Superman. He's like, no way. He's like, he's like super pumped to see Superman. And then we flash to Savannah meeting with Lex Luthor. And Lex Luthor gives him this name of this tracker named Spec.
Okay.
So Spec tracks Shazam and sees him turning into Billy Batson. Also in this comic too, he's Captain Marvel. I don't like that name, and it drives me crazy, but I know it is his original name. I know for the purists out there, they prefer Captain Marvel, but I think Shazam's way cooler. But he sees definitely Captain Marvel, Shazam, whatever. Say Shazam, turn into a kid, and Spec's like, weird, okay, but interesting. So then it goes back to the earlier when we saw Superman meeting up Shazam. That's kind of all like, different time. I think that's in the future. Then we flash back to the past where Shazam and Superman help each other fight these robbers. And this is a really cool part. The highlight of the comic, of course, is Shazam and Superman together. So we see they're fighting like these goopy monsters, and these monsters have some kind of magic beam that they shoot, and it really like hurts Superman because, a lot of people, I feel like, never acknowledge that one of his weaknesses is magic.
Yeah.
Which is like a major weakness. They always just talk about kryptonite, but he's got a weakness to magic. So this beam, it like encapsulates him in this crystal or whatever. And Shazam's like, I got you, dude. And he punches it, and then he attacks them, but the beam does nothing to Shazam. But Superman uses his freeze breath, and it like freezes the goop monster. So they work together. Shazam attacks them since the magic can't hurt him, and then he'll throw the thing to Superman. He'll use the freeze breath. So it's really, fun seeing them work together. And then after that, they go to Mount Everest to hang out. This was like by far my favorite part. It's just them at Mount Everest hanging out and talking about like Superman's like, oh dude, I'm jealous of how magic doesn't affect you. And Shazam's like, yeah, well, like, besides magic, you're invulnerable, so you're pretty awesome too. And they're like, it's just like them going back and forth, complimenting each other, and also talking about like their life outside of being a superhero, but they don't tell each other the details.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember exactly some of the stuff Superman says, but he says something about like, what's up with the cape or something, and Shazam's like, oh well, it comes with the job, and Superman's like, what does that mean? And he's like, I'll tell you later or something. So after that, we see the robbers basically summoning Satan. His name's actually Sabak, but
okay.
When I saw it, they literally say like before he says Sabak, they're like Satan, Beelzebub, and I was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah,
but
he was like the villain in Black Adam. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But before he says Sabak, it made it seem, I thought it was going to be Satan himself. But yeah, it's Sabak. And then as Sabak is, summoned, Bruce Gordon becomes this villain I have seen before but never read or knew anything about, called Eclipso.
Okay, yeah. I heard some of it, yeah.
Eclipso looks like Malekith from the Jason Aaron run, but pretty much he's the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
He's Bruce Gordon, who's actually a good guy. Or I guess you can call him Mr. Negative, because Bruce Gordon's a good guy that is, trying to do, he's like the opposite of Sivana, but it says he went on some trip and this dark crystal basically took over him. And I don't know what causes it. I think it's something about the sun being covered or something, but it makes him turn into this Jekyll and Hyde Eclipso character. He's a pretty cool character. So, Eclipso and Superman fight while Shazam fights Sabak.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool the way Shazam eventually defeats Sabak. is he forces him to say his name because that's the only way to make him revert back. He's like, oh, like he's like insulting him, and he's like, you must have some kind of name, right? He's just kind of like, it's just funny. And then Superman defeats Eclipso, and Eclipso like tries to make Superman hurt the civilians because he has them under his control.
Yeah.
Superman's like, I won't do that. You know, classic Superman. It's pretty good stuff. So they all defeat the bad guys. Everything seems fine. But then
Jesus Christ. Oh, my bad. Let me get him real quick.
he wants to play.
Yeah, at the worst times possible. He was sleeping all morning today, and then just once I'm doing the podcast, he decides to be the most energized person he could ever be. Okay, no, leave me alone. Go away. All right, continue.
So they defeat the bad guys. Everything kind of seems like it's done. I almost thought the comic was over, but things take a huge turn here. And so far throughout this comic, it's had a very lighthearted tone. Everything's just been fun. But then, I kind of forgot, but that spec guy tracked Billy. And so Billy, finishes fighting the day, and he's with his friend Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I had never seen this character. I also don't really read a lot of Shazam, but it's his friend Scott, and they're hanging out. I think Billy lives in an abandoned subway station in a tent, I think, in this comic. So they're hanging out there, and then they hear something, and it's like these mercenaries trying to kill Billy. So Billy quickly turns to Shazam, fights them all off, and, it all seems fine. He looks back, and it's, full page panel of just this kid, Scott, shot dead, like blood everywhere. I stood in my tracks while I was reading. I was like, what?
Dang.
And so then it goes to this like heartbreaking panel of like, so he brings in Scott into the hospital, and then it has this full page of like no words. And it's like, it's kind of like as the page goes down, it's over time. Like it shows the doctors working. And then the final one at the end, like the lights are off. The kid is covered with like a blanket, and like, dude, it was sad.
Yeah.
It was like, and then Billy kind of just goes, I guess Shazam, he just kind of goes off. They're interrogating the guy that killed him, and he like just busts in, and he's like about to kill him, and he's like, who did this? And then it has this badass scene of like Savannah just looks outside of the building, and Shazam is just like floating there staring at him, and then he just breaks all of the glass in the building, and he like chokes him. He almost kills him. Like he's like, and but then he just flies away like right as he's about to kill him, and he's like crying at the top of Everest, and Superman sees all this on the news, flies on over, and at first he's like, like why'd you do this? You kind of went AWOL, but then he sees that he's crying, talks to him, and there's kind of a funny moment where Shazam's basically explaining like they killed my like best friend, and Superman's like, why is your best friend a 12-year-old kid? Like, and he's like, and Shazam goes, yeah, that actually is weird now that I say it. He's like, let me show you. And he turns into Billy. And then, Superman goes to the Wizard, and he's like, why would you do this to a kid? Why would you bestow all this power upon a kid? And it's a really, like, I never would have thought the comic was going to go to like this. He's like literally lecturing the Wizard as to why he gave Billy these powers as a kid. And I mean, it is kind of true. Like,
that's true. Yeah.
But the comic ends with the Wizard basically being like, he's like, this kid, he needs some guidance. And Superman kind of like ponders on that. And so it shows Billy, I guess now he's living in some house, or maybe he never lived in the subway. I don't really know, but he's in a house. It looks like a really crappy house. And he comes in as Clark Kent, and Billy's like, what the hell do you want? And then Clark like sits down. It's almost like he's going to be his father figure. He's like, I'm Clark Kent. I'm Superman. Like, this is the real me. And that's how it ends. And I really wanted it to keep going. I
Yeah.
was like, damn. I was like, we were about to see Clark become the father figure for Billy right after his friend just got shot. Like, can we don't stop.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I really loved it. I loved the first half. It's just kind of lighthearted and fun. But like the last issue or two it's heavy,
hmm
but it's really good. It's really, really good.
Yeah. It is great. If like you're ever like a new Shazam fan, obviously like the go-to comic is like the New 52 run, but Superman Shazam First Thunder is a very good jumping on point too.
I like this more than the New 52.
Oh, really?
I like this more. I did like New 52. We'll talk about that, but I definitely did like it. But this was, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's definitely a great one. Um, so with that being said, you want to jump into the one we both read?
Yeah. So we both read the New 52 Shazam, which I didn't know this, but you know how like some comics will have a story A and story B?
Yeah.
Like single issues once you finish. So I guess that's what this was when the issues were coming out. I didn't know that. I've read all of the New 52 Justice League. I know you have too, but I read that digitally and I never knew this was a part of it. Is like the story B.
Yeah.
Also, when I used to get single issues, I would usually skip story Bs.
Oh yeah, I always did.
Dude, this is an amazing second
Yeah.
story. Like that's kind of crazy that they had both of these. So yeah. Well, you're gonna kind of give us the rundown in the first half, then I'll kind of give us the rundown in the second half, and then we'll review it, talk about it, give our thoughts, and yeah.
Awesome. So, it basically plays out very similar to the movie.
Very.
Like there are like a lot of aspects that like obviously like the movie was heavily inspired by the New 52 Shazam because that was kind of like the Shazam route they were going with. But like I just saw the movie like the first one and the first Shazam movie again like 4 days ago. Then I started reading this during one of my classes because I didn't want to pay attention in class. So I was like, let's read the Shazam. I read it. I read the entire thing and like during the one lecture. So I was like, this is great. I love it. But very similar. So
like crazy.
yeah,
This was the first Shazam I've ever read. I've only seen the Shazam movie until I read this,
Mm.
and I was like, whoa! Like
Yeah.
this is besides Black Adam, it's like almost beat for beat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. So we start off with this normal working man, going to work and then going up an elevator, and all of a sudden the elevator starts acting weird and he gets transported to the Rock of Eternity. Essentially, he's presented in front of the Wizard Shazam. The Wizard Shazam, does his things like, "Are you pure of heart?" Essentially, he finds out that he's not. And he sends it back. And then it pans out to a bunch of screens with a bunch of people reciting the different incidences of the same thing. Very similar to how the movie does it, where like Dr. Savannah interviews different people and like talk about like what they experienced, stuff like that. So it's basically beat for beat like that. He's watching all these clips, and then one of his assistants comes in saying like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do?" And then Dr. Savannah pulls out like the book of Black Adam, essentially saying like how there's magic exists and magic could save my family essentially. So that's basically his quest to find magic to save his family. Then it cuts to Christmas time in Philadelphia. Um, when they cut to like the 7 months later Philadelphia splash page, I love it because Gary Frank is a really good artist. He's very good. And just like this like splash page makes it very home like. It's very like
Very cozy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
man, nice. I love that page.
Yeah, it's great. So we cut to Billy being in like in the office of his caretaker. It's like social worker essentially, being interviewed by the two parents, Mr. and Mrs. Vasquez, I think it's pronounced. Um, Basically throughout the whole thing, Billy puts up this like facade, saying like how he's this like sweet, nice boy. He likes to read. I like to do homework. Blah blah blah.
I
He
like to do homework.
and he also says like he wants to do a podcast too. So I'm like, oh, that's cool.
He did say that. I think he said I like listening to I forget the older lady's name. He's like I like listening to her podcast and taking notes or something. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah,
remember.
yeah. Oh, what's her name? Oh, Mrs. Glover. That's her name, Mrs. Glover. So he put this all like this like nice, happy facade, and like there, and then the Mr. and Mrs. Vasquez are saying like, "Well, we'll love to take you." And Bill's like, "What? Me? People usually take like the newborns or the infants. You want to choose me?" And you're like, "Yeah, of course. Yeah, we love you." And then like when they're like, "Okay, bye," Billy says, "What a couple of idiots." And then like his true nature becomes he's like this like rotten, vile kid who like doesn't really care for anyone besides himself. Um, and like Mrs. Glover hates him essentially. He's been trying to get him out for like a while now. We get that, and later on we see him getting taken to the foster care system, or not the system, but the foster home essentially. And we see like all the other foster kids out the window, like looking at them, looking at Billy coming in. And what I liked about just like this page, like the 3 panel pages of him, just them watching Billy come home, is how like the actors in the Shazam movie very well encapsulate these characters from the comics into like the live action, especially like Darla being like the
Yeah.
very energetic, very happy little girl, very excited to get a new brother essentially. So they go to the house and Billy's like, being a little shit essentially, saying like, I want to be my own. Like I can't wait to like just be on my own, like not worry about like with adults and everything like that. So as they approach like the the door, they just go back like him and Mrs. Glover just go back and forth with insults, saying Billy saying old maid, she's saying her calling her a pest, and then him saying prune face and like all this stuff. So
Yeah.
they're just including insults, and once they open the door, the Vasquez opens the door. They like all like put like a fake smile on, like hello, and all that stuff. So basically, they take him in obviously, and then they introduce him to the other foster kids, and they introduce themselves, and very imminently they Billy just like hates them. He just doesn't like them. Christmas time, obviously. They introduce themselves. They go around. Mary introduces herself, saying how like she's like about to graduate, how she's like this like perfect child essentially. We get Freddie, who's like basically like a troublemaker. Pedro is very shy, very reserved, and Eugene is like the smart kid. He's like very like book heavy, technologically like inclined. He knows everything about like that. And then Darla starts to smother him as always. And then as they show him to his room, Billy just starts like acting like an asshole to them, saying like, "You're not my family. I'm not your brother. None of you. I don't care about any of you, right?" And saying all this stuff makes Darla cry. And then Mary just like throws him into the room, saying like, "How can you be so selfish? How can you only care about yourself and no one else around you?" Then Billy is getting settled into his room, pulls out a picture of his parents in front of of a tiger, which is talking Tawny essentially.
but
In a
but this
sense,
one doesn't talk. This one
yeah,
this one's just a tiger.
he's not a museum curator. He doesn't talk, so we're all good. He's a regular tiger. Um, what I found funny is how similar Shazam is compared to Billy's dad. They're like basically identical.
Yeah.
And then as like Billy's getting settled, he like kind of regrets making Darla cry, and like kind of like reminiscing and that like I should have made her cry. And then he looks out the window and the cloud and like the big cloud of thunder. We see like the wizard Shazam's face in it, and he's like what's going on? Then we cut to like the next day. Darla acts like as if nothing happened. They're getting ready for school, and as they go to school, there's like, "I want to go to school. This is boring." Blah blah blah. And again, Billy's like resenting them. He's pushing like them away. Like, I don't need any friends. I don't need anyone to like to be with me. I need like any of that stuff. Then, as school ends, they all ask like, Billy, how was school? And he's like, it was terrible. It was boring. I hated it. I'm not gonna walk with you guys back home. I'm going somewhere else. And then we get a group of bullies essentially. They're basically like the rich kids who donate to the school and make the school like run. They're the Briars, I think. Yeah, they're the Briar brothers. Those are the bullies. So they pick on like Mary, Eugene, was it Jose? I don't know. But they pick on everyone, and then they start like pushing everyone, punching um, Freddie. But then Billy steps in and like beats him up essentially. Gets taken to the principal's office, and the father of the Breyer brothers comes in and starts reprimanding Billy and saying like, you will not be near my children ever again, or I'll have you out of this school, because he basically owns the school in a sense. And honestly, like the principal or like the administrator like says like, you better not mess this up for like the sake of the school. So they're really more concerned about like their integrity rather than like the kids essentially.
Yeah.
So as Billy and his like adopted father walk out, Billy confronts the bride's father and basically saying like, you know, he says, your brats better stop bothering people, or I'm gonna shove those silver spoons down their throats. Basically like, threatening them, like pushing them. And then Mr. Breyer like pulls him by like the shirt, saying like, um, threatening him too. And then Mr. Vasquez comes in defending Billy, and then they both get shoved to the ground, and then the Briars speed off essentially. So it kind of sucks, them having to deal with that. But we cut to Baghdad. That's where Dr. Savannah is, and they're trying to find the tomb of Black Adam. And as they find this this wall that doesn't really fit any language that they know of, so he assumes this has to be it. So as he's examining the wall, a lightning bolt shoots his eye, and now he has the ability to like see magic through that eye. Then we cut back to the foster home. Mr. and Mrs. Vasquez are talking about what's going on. They discuss Billy and like the trouble there, like he's causing, all that stuff. And he's not really eating. And we see that later on as Freddy follows Billy to the zoo. He's giving the burger to the tiger that means a lot to him and has no correlation to his talking Tony or anything like that.
Yeah.
So Freddy comes up to him saying like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then Billy gets like scared and like basically shoves him away. And he says like, "I know you're trying to find your birth parents because Freddy stole his wallet the first time he met him." And Billy was like, "You took my wallet?" And Freddy said, "Relax, Dr. Doolittle. I was just curious. It's all there, $3 whole." And he finds like the little membership card to try and track down his parents. And they just kept like talking like one on one, saying like how they like he understands like the situation, but like they're always there for him and whenever he needs it. And then like they just talk about like the Breyer brothers essentially, saying how like they pick on them every day. And Billy was like, "I got an idea," essentially. So we cut back to Baghdad and cut back to where Dr. Savannah is trying to find the tomb of Black Adam. He says the word Shazam, which unlocks the tomb, and then Black Adam, the last splash page of Black Adam saying like, "Where's the wizard?" So cool. He just looks very menacing with all the lightning around him, his black and gold suit. I really liked it. He just looked really badass.
Yeah.
Also, not entirely, but kind of similar to his how he gets like released in the Black Adam movie too.
I'm sure you're about to talk about it, but starting with that, there's also a lot of similarities just in this beginning scene with the Black Adam movie when we first see Black Adam.
Yeah, which I mean, I always appreciate when like comic book movie directors pull and actually read from the comics. And it's like you appreciate it a lot more
Yeah.
So we cut to Black Adam interrogating them, saying like where is the wizard, and he starts like killing everyone. And Dr. Savannah knows how to speak his language, so he talks to him saying like we're not your enemies, and he was like you speak my language, and one of the other guys saying like what is he saying, and Black Adam just looks at him like you do not, and it's like evaporates like
Dude,
lightning.
that part was so cool.
So badass. And then so basically that's where like they start like somewhat teaming up. Then we cut back to um, Billy and Freddie at the Briar's house, trying to unlock the car to like roll it down like the street essentially. But the alarm sets off, and they try to run away. But since Freddie's like handicapped, he can't really run away too much or like as effectively as Billy. So Billy just shoves him to the bush, saying like, "I can run away, but you can't. So you just stay here and hide." And then obviously the Briars finds that Billy is like tampering with their car. So they chase after him and they chase him down to a subway and to the subway station. And that's where Billy goes into a subway car and gets transported to the Rock of Eternity. And the last issue that I'm going to discuss, this is Justice League issue number 0. Um, so he's like wandering the Rock of Eternity. He looks around and he sees like the display of the 7 deadly sins, which I thought was pretty cool. How you just press on it and like an image like emerges out of them instead of like in the movie they just have like a just like statues of them. So the Wizard Shazam summons Billy to come over here and saying how I need someone of pure of heart, but my magic brought me a child. And then like he's basically saying like there's no I need to find someone of pure of heart, but Bill's like there's no one pure of heart. If you've been doing this for like centuries and you've got nothing, then like there's no one of pure of heart. So instead of like looking for someone who's pure of heart, the Wizard Shazam looks like someone who has like the potential, like his potential rather than like his pure of heart that he has right now. So he sees that in him and then basically gives him the powers of Shazam and transforms into Shazam. And Billy's like, "This is really cool. This is awesome." Um, and then he says that basically just was explaining his powers, like you can travel to the sky, you have the strength of a demigod, and then when he says that, he like punches like a throne, like destroys it, and then Wizard Shazam says like, "Do not waste your powers," and it basically gives him a lecture saying like, "You need to stop Black Adam, or else he'll kill you and like try to like rule the world." Essentially, classic supervillain stuff. And then they go, and then Billy gets transported back into his world, Earth, and he goes in front of and Freddy saying like, "It's me, it's Billy, like I have powers." And then Freddy's like, "No way!" And they're all like excited about it. So they go back. Billy explains like where he went, and then Freddy's like, "Okay." So they go back to the Briars and to finish the job. So they pick up the car and like smashes on the ground and they run away. And then they just like mess around most of the time. They find someone being robbed, and then Billy comes up and saves the day, smashes him through a car, which is brutal.
He's paralyzed.
He's
Yeah.
paralyzed. At least he's paralyzed. He's probably dead.
Yeah. Could be dead.
So the lady's like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. How could I ever thank you?" And then Shazam looks back at Freddy, and Freddy's like, "Well,
Yeah.
I was a little short on cash." So she was like, "Oh, okay." And she sent him
Okay.
a money. But it's like, "Yeah, we got it." And then like Billy goes back like, I just got $20. You know what this means?" And they start like getting excited, like we're gonna be rich. And then they start like being excited and all that. And that's like the first half. A
Yeah.
lot of fun, a lot of similarities from the movie, almost beat for beat, honestly. Like
Yeah.
you know, Billy finding out the powers, using those powers for like money, just like to goof around. Um, the only difference, obviously, is like instead of Doctor Savannah trying to find Black Adam, just like in the comics, in the movie, he's like trying to like get back the power of Shazam. He wants because he was there, but he wasn't worthy enough because he succumbed to like the trance of like the 7 deadly sins. So that's basically the only thing that's different. But like everything else is like beat for beat, almost identical.
Yeah.
Appreciated.
I wish they would have. I wish they would have just stolen from this even more and let Black Adam be in that first movie.
Right.
That would have been so cool.
Definitely.
Um, but yeah, I mean that continues as I'm about to talk about the last half. It continues being very similar, except for the Black Adam stuff,
Yeah.
because it starts with Black Adam and Savannah in New York City, and this part's pretty funny. Black Adam's like, there's still pharaohs in
Mhm.
this world, basically saying like there's still pharaohs that just feed off of slaves, and he's basically talking about like bosses that feed off of just everyday people. So he goes up to like this high rise in New York City, and he just essentially grabs a higher up there, a boss, and he grabs him and he drops him off the building and kills him.
Yeah.
And all the people in the street are like, "Oh my god!" Like they're all running around. So they eventually go underground and they try and access the Rock of Eternity, but they can't. Only the champion can go in there. They see like the wizard,
Yeah.
I mean, basically dead on the ground, but they can't go in. So Black Adam starts hunting down the 7 deadly sins. He starts with sloth, basically gluttony. And the wizard had all these people disguised in the world, kind of made them forget who they were. So it's basically just this giant fat dude on a couch eating potato chips, watching TV. Um, so as all this is going on, just like in the movie, Billy and Freddy are testing their powers. You know, they're having fun. They're stopping bank robberies and like getting junk food and just having a good time. So that's all like really fun to watch. It feels just like the movie. So then Billy and Freddy kind of get into a fight because Freddy's like, all right, like it's time to change back into Billy. And Billy's like, why would I do that? Why would I turn back into
Yeah.
Billy Batson? And, you know, if I was a kid and I got these powers,
Especially with the
I'd
all
probably,
like with like everything Billy has gone through, like you can understand his side because like you wouldn't want to go back to like the form where you get picked on and like get looked down upon like all the time. You want to stay in that adult, super powered form, so you can like can sympathize with him a bit with that one.
yeah, I agree, definitely. But as they're fighting, Black Adam attacks. He just kind of attacks and he's like, I found you. So while that's happening, Gluttony and Savannah, Sloth, or whatever you want to call them, they free Pride, the one of the other 7 deadly sins. And then we basically just see not Shazam, Black Adam beating the hell out of Shazam. Just, you know, there's this really cool, and it felt like a movie scene. I could like hear the background noises where Shazam is like, he gets thrown into this grocery store basically, and then he's like looking around, and then all of a sudden all the lights just go out, and it's like the lightning, and then
Yeah,
it's really it
great.
felt like a scene. So Shazam basically has to run away. He says Shazam turns into Billy so he can kind of blend in with the crowd
Mhm.
and runs away because, I mean, Black Adam is just kicking
The
his
tank.
ass. So Freddy tells all the family members, they're like, that Billy is Shazam. Um, and they go back onto this subway because is like, you know what? The wizard made a mistake. Like, I'm not cut out for this. I'm gonna go back to the wizard and get him to take these powers away or whatever. So he goes in the subway, and this is when he sees through, I guess somebody left an iPad or something,
Mhm.
but this lady called Francesca, and she shows him the past of Black Adam and like
It was
who
like
Black
the
Adam
mirror, isn't it?
was. It? I thought it was an iPad.
No, oh yeah, because I think they see it in like a department store as like a mirror with like her face like projecting out of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She can appear anywhere a reflection can
Right.
appear. So it's something in that subway. She talks to him through it, and she explains him the past of Black Adam. And this also kind of reminded me of the Black Adam movie. We see this kid just like Billy, and it makes it seem like that kid is Black Adam,
Right.
So Billy is like, I'm gonna go reason with him, which not the best idea,
Yeah.
but he is like, I'm gonna go reason with him. So he goes out to reason with Black Adam, and Black Adam basically kind of tells him the full story of how he's not actually the kid, but he's the kid's uncle, who there's this one point where the uncle goes to save the kid because he's, in those mines or whatever, and the kid wants justice, but the uncle wants revenge.
Mhm.
And so, oh yeah, I forgot about a huge part of the story, but the uncle dies, and and the kid resurrects him with the powers of Shazam. He's talking to the wizard, resurrects the uncle with the powers of Shazam, and that's when they talk. And the kid's like, I want justice, and the uncle's like, I want revenge. And so the uncle kills the kid with the powers of Shazam, like says Shazam, kills the kid, and goes on his quest for revenge.
Yeah.
Pretty dark. Kills his own nephew
Crazy.
to get revenge. So there's this great scene, just like the movie, kind of, where throughout like this whole comic, we keep hearing that the powers of Shazam like run through family, and Black Adam says this. He's like, your powers, you can transfer it to me. And Shazam kind of, the light bulb clicks, because I think it's Francesca tells him like beforehand that, or no, it's the wizard, that family isn't what it is, it's what it can be, or it's something along those lines. And Shazam basically realizes, who his family is. It's a great family moment, like
Vin Diesel
your family
would have a thrill.
Yeah, Vin Diesel would love that. But yeah, it's a great moment where basically he realizes, like, because he doesn't have a true family, but your family doesn't have to be just blood. And so he's like, okay, well, these guys are my family. So he transfers the Shazam powers to the kids. They all get the powers of Shazam. And together, they beat Black Adam. And also, while all this is happening, the 7 deadly sins have assembled. Sivana has assembled them all. And they basically they take this guy's body. It's the guy you were talking about earlier, the Briars, was it?
Yeah.
Their dad. They try and find someone that's, an evil, bad person.
Yeah.
And they use his body as a host, and he becomes like this giant demon creature.
Mm-hmm.
Shazam and demons seems to be a running theme. So also, I can't forget Shazam, because Tanny the tiger is basically like family. He transfers the powers of Shazam to the tiger.
Yeah.
The tiger starts going after Black Adam. Because it like does a little flashback scene, and it's like where he's talking to the tiger, and he's like, you're the closest thing I have to family. So,
There you go. Look at that.
So, we get some really great action of all the Shazam kids fighting Black Adam. But eventually it all ends with Shazam and Black Adam. And it's almost another scenario, just like the comic I read, where he kind of outsmarts him with just trash talking him to an extent, where he's like, you're really going to let a kid, like you're really going to fight a kid. And so Black Adam, for the first time since, those centuries ago, reverts to his normal self, which is that uncle. And he basically just disintegrates because he's centuries old.
Yeah.
So he just disintegrates in front of him. And then honestly forget what they do to defeat the 7 deadly sins, but they go outside of the host body, and now he's naked in front of everybody, the Briar dad, and he's like, don't look at me. What happened? I don't remember exactly how they defeat him.
They probably defeat him with the power of family.
Yeah, the power of family.
Yeah.
But they defeat him. They defeat the 7 deadly sins. I guess I don't remember because the stuff with Black Adam was just so much more compelling to me. I was kind of more into that, but it ends with the same as the Shazam after credit scene, where it's Sivana and Mr. Mind.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see him. He's in that little jar, just like from the first appearance. But it's Savannah basically spouting off the same thing he says the whole comic, where he's like, "Oh, science can't save my family, so magic can." And so, and Mr. Mind's like, "Oh, we're gonna be great friends."
Yeah.
But just like the after credit scene, I don't know if that went anywhere. Did it? Is it?
Uh, y- I think so. Yeah, I think it does talk about it in in Into the Magical Lands. I think the
Oh,
sequel.
okay.
Yeah, because that's basically a sequel to this essentially, like a direct sequel.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. I definitely got to read that then.
It is great. We see like because I don't know if you remember, like in the post credit scene for Shazam movie, Mr. Mike talks about rolling like the seven like the seven like realms of magic or whatever. And in the sequel
Oh,
comic, we get to explore each of the realms, which is really cool.
I need to read that then.
It is fantastic. And also just to tie in with like what you said about like tricking like Black Adam in order to defeat him, I remember in the Black Adam's first appearance, the way they defeat Black Adam is very interesting. So basically, it's Shazam, a fat Shazam, like a fat older like guy with the powers of Shazam, and I think Mary Marvel and Captain Marvel Jr. too. I'm not sure, but one of those or both of them were in it too. So like the fat older Shazam, uh, is like an idiot. He's portrayed like as an idiot in that issue. So he purposely mispronounces Shazam. So he says like Shablam, Kazam, and then Black Adam gets so annoyed with him. He's like, "No, you idiot! It's Shazam!" And it's like Shazam zaps back to his normal self, and he just goes to dust. So when you said like tricking like the Black Adam into like to defeat him, that instantly reminded me of like, oh, so that's how they defeat Shazam in the original in its first appearance. It's
That's funny.
it's very it's very interesting.
But yeah, that's the new 52 Shazam. Follows the movie pretty closely,
Yeah,
but with Black Adam, which definitely puts it above the movie for me, just because
yeah.
there's some great moments with him. But yeah, what did you think overall? What were some of your highlights? What did you think
Overall,
of the comic? Was
oh
this your first time reading it?
no, it's like this is my like sixth time reading.
This is my first time.
Oh,
I've
really?
never read this. Yeah.
I love it. I love it every time. And whenever I get the chance to reread it, I reread it, and I love it. Um, it just like it makes me like appreciate the character of Shazam more, and especially after you watch the movie, you can appreciate the comic more, or that you can appreciate the movie more because of how faithfully it adapts this run. I just love like how Billy is like this like nasty, like vile, rotten kid in the beginning, and then over the course of the comic, he begins to learn and develop as a character. That family may not be like blood, but like it's the people who are around you who have your back that you can tell your family. The overall story was great. Um, Savannah, pretty good villain. With Black, especially teaming with Black Adam, that was great. Um, I like all like the splash pages of like the different characters. This is really just like was it David Finch? Oh no, Gary Frank Gary, I think it is.
I think it's Gary Frank.
Gary Frank. Okay, let me just make sure. Yeah. So the artist who did it, phenomenal, great. I read Batman Earth One, which he also illustrated. He's definitely like one of, like the best artists like around, essentially. I think he's great. His like dynamic like poses.
Yeah, it's Gary Frank. It's
Gary
Gary
Frank.
Frank. I
Okay,
just
yeah,
double check you.
It makes the comic even better. Certainly, like all the action sequences, just like the designs of the characters. You can see how like it's weird to say, but like it's a common like issue with like a lot of artists like but like he makes all the characters look different, and like in the sense of like there
No,
are
I agree. Yeah.
there are like artists who would illustrate great, like like just like the torso and like body area like very nicely, but like the faces like almost always look the same. But like not in this case. They all have different personalities. They look different. They're just different, their own individual person, and I just like it a lot. And I just wish there's like an absolute edition of this story. If there was, I'd instantly buy it. But I love it. It's definitely the one of the my top five DC comics that I've read. I was gonna say something else, but I forgot what it was. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I loved it. I bias for me because I love Shazam. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as the art goes, I mean, I think it's just a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect combination of stylistic while realistic.
Hmm.
Like, like I was saying, Darwin Cook and Chris Samney are my favorites. I love like that stylistic kind of art, but I can appreciate realism, and the combination here is perfect. And it's got like this dark shading, and it's awesome. The art is perfect. I love the story. It's a lot of fun. I love Black Adam. The scene, like I already talked about, where the lights go out is great. I love the scene where he's like, "You speak my language," and then he's like, "You do not," and then he just kills him. Like, that was awesome. I love the message about family in here, where it's like, they don't have to be blood. You can have family that, is like close friends, basically, or adopted family, or whatever you want to call it. Whoever's close to you and is there for you is basically family. I like that message. And I like the change on Savannah. I don't know too much about him, but it seems like maybe before the New 52, he was kind of just like Lex Luthor 2.0.
Yeah.
At least in the one I read with Superman Shazam. The one in his first appearance you read, it just seems like he's kind of like this just evil guy who's got money.
I like to imagine him as a Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
So I like that the twist on him, and he's not really got powers, but he can see magic.
Yeah.
He's much more interesting of a character here than he was in the one I read. But I ended up preferring the Superman and Shazam, but I still really, really, really enjoyed this. It was, I didn't love the movie when I first saw it. This made me appreciate it more, but I've seen it twice. The second time, I liked it a lot more. I guess I didn't like it because sometimes he's acting like a kid and being somewhat cringy, but he's supposed to.
Yeah.
And I didn't really kind of get that the first time around. The second time, I appreciated it a lot more. And reading this comic made me appreciate not only the movie more, but this comic more. And like, it was kind of, they both went up for me, and it's just a lot of fun too.
Mm-hmm.
The art makes it a lot of fun. Also, that's another thing. The action sequences are great.
Yeah.
The final issue where it's all the Shazam family fighting Black Adam, and you've got the 7 Deadly Sins, giant demon man, and it's a lot of fun. It's a fun read. So I'm gonna give it a solid 4. It's a solid 4. Yeah.
Awesome.
4 out of 5.
I just remember what I was gonna say. So I guess one of like the differences between like the characterization of Billy Batson from this comic book and the movie is like in the movie he's much less vile, essentially. Like,
yeah,
he's like
true.
I wouldn't say nicer, but like he's like nicer in like the movie compared to the comic. And when I first watched Shazam, I kind of wished he was more of an asshole. That way you can like really see his like character progression be more impactful, essentially. Because like in the movie he's like resentful, but he was like but like in the movie he's like really like on it, and like he's like really resentful. And like I just feel like if they did that level of like rottenness of Billy Batson in the movie, his like character arc would be a lot better, or like, more impactful. Essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because I agree, because he really wasn't actually that rotten in the comic. Like it's more of like, I think he's like acting out because he's been through so
Yeah,
much, but you kind of throughout the comic get to see more of who he really is, with him and the tiger, and once he,
talking Tawny.
once you kind of get to see, yeah, like especially in that scene after he's mean to Darla, you kind of get to see how he truly is. So I do agree. I would
Yeah,
have. It's almost like he's putting on a front. Like it makes it seem like he's putting on a front with a niceness, but I think actually the front was like his meanness and
yeah,
him being a jerk.
definitely.
So yeah, I agree. I would have liked seeing that in the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, if you guys want to check out how ridiculous his early appearances were, definitely check out Shazam: The Mightiest Mortal Volume 1. You can always get it at your local comic book shop, or you can get it digitally. I would highly.
Superman and Shazam is free on Comixology.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool.
Free read if you want to check that out. So
Yeah.
I think we recommend everything. We can recommend everything we read.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially if you love the Shazam movie, you're definitely gonna love the comic. If you want like more, I guess like the Shazam more connected to the DC world, Superman Shazam. Not even that. It's just it's like a great story in and of itself, and like you describing like that dynamic between Superman and Shazam. It's great. Always love how like they just talk casually to one another. It's great. So recommend Superman Shazam First Thunder. Recommend New 52 Shazam. Um, recommend Shazam: The Mightiest Mortal Volume 1. Just recommend them all. You always check them
Yeah.
out if they have it in your local comic book shop, your library. If you have a library card, you can always get read comic books for free. Or if you do also still have a library card, you can download Hoopla, which is an app. Just input your library card number and read digital free comics, essentially. Is there anything else you want to say about these Shazam comics before we move on to the next topic?
No, read them. They're good.
Good.
That's all I got.
Yeah. I know like for we did all of this to like center around Shazam Fury of the Gods, but from what I know is like the villains in the Shazam sequel are like original villains essentially. Like they just like made them up for the movie. So there's nothing really to like
Discuss.
to go off
theorize.
of. Because like it's new essentially. I mean, I got nothing because like I was really hoping they're gonna go with like Mr. Mind for like the Monster Society of Evil for the sequel, but they went to like the Daughters of Atlas, which it could be cool, but it would have been much better if they went Mr. Mind and the Monster Society of Evil.
Yeah, I agree.
But we're kind of like not really going in blind with this movie, but like there's nothing they adapted that is going to be like applicable for like the Shazam sequel. So, like I said, I'm excited to watch. I'm watching it tonight. Uh, I'm really biased towards Shazam, so even though if it's like a really bad movie, I'm gonna love it either way. Same thing with like Black Adam, and like Black Adam got a lot of flack, but like I enjoyed it, especially with like Doctor Fate. I loved it. Hawkman, great. So like I'm really biased towards my favorite characters, so
It's fair. I mean, that's completely fair.
yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, so that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. If you bias towards character, if you like it,
Yeah, no,
have fun with it.
There's no problem with that. Yeah, exactly. All right,
Yeah.
now to the second main event, another March Madness bracket. This one I feel like is gonna be very controversial. The other two were controversial. The last one was we did the bracket of the top 100 heroes, right? Or was that?
Yes,
Yeah.
last was the heroes because we were gonna do villains. We were gonna do villains this time, but I was like, it's Shazam. We'll do the DC movies. So, there's a lot less here,
Mhm.
not just MCU, but like there's some movies I left out. There's like a Swamp Thing movie, an older Swamp Thing movie, an older. But I was like, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
There's 4 of those older school Superman movies, I've only seen 2 of them.
Yeah.
Of the what's Christopher Reeves?
Yep.
I've only seen the first 2.
Me too. I heard the fourth one was terrible.
I have heard awful things about the fourth one, which makes me want to watch it.
Yeah.
That makes me want to watch it. I need to watch all of them, but we'll get to that. We'll start with there's 30. So there's 34 movies in total here. We'll start with there's 2 like pre-rounds before they really start, and I'll show, as always, I'll show the bracket on screen. So if y'all want to fill it out along with us, y'all can do so. But we start with Batman Begins versus Watchmen.
Okay. Do you want to start off this one, or should I start off in a controversial take right here?
Well, I haven't seen the Watchmen movie, so I'm picking Batman Begins.
Okay. I'm going with Watchmen.
Okay. That is a controversial take, but I'm not the biggest Batman Begins fan.
Yeah, me neither.
The other 2 movies, huge. I'm a massive fan of, but I'm not a big Batman Begins guy. But I still enjoy it. There's great scenes, you know, like I'm Batman.
Yeah. Where to me? Like stuff like that.
But I just turned my Iron Man helmet on accident. I just backed into it. It's on the ground. What are your like quick gripes with that movie? Because I know mine.
I hate the suit.
Yeah, I mean it's not great.
Yeah, like even when, like with Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, I just hated like the design of the Batman suit. Never liked it. I especially hate how you can barely see like the bat symbol on the chest. I like Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow. That's like a good bit, but like
Agreed.
it's just like so like I want to say forgettable, but like it's not really like it doesn't really hold up essentially, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so many like aspects of the movie that are like my main gripes is not like the story, it's more of like Batman. Like
Okay.
like the deep voice, don't like the suit.
Really?
Yeah, I hate when like they go like or like something like
I love it, dude. Where's Rachel?
Yeah. I was not a fan of that. Even when I first saw it as a kid, I was like, what are they doing? Like I'm like I was never a fan of that. It's just like I'm gonna get some hate for this, or I'm gonna get some hate for this. I'm not the biggest fan of the Tumblr.
Oh, really?
I'm not the biggest fan of the Tumblr. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. I just don't like the Tumblr. It's like there's something about it. It's like I'm just like, I would prefer any other Batmobile besides the Tumblr.
I guess I've never really thought of like which Batmobiles I prefer, but
I love the Batman vs Superman Batmobile. That's my favorite.
That one's a good one. I guess I've really never disliked any of them. I would say my least favorite, although I get it in the sense of the movie, is the Batman with but like I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
Like it's actually perfect for the movie, and it's so badass in that one scene, obviously, where he's walking. Like I don't dislike it. I guess just from a design point, if I'm looking at him, that's my least favorite. But I don't know. I guess I've never really had a problem. My favorite is like the over the top goofy ones, like Batman '89, and like the one from like the animated series where it's like this almost like a limo.
Yeah, love it.
That's my favorite kind of Batmobile.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I mean,
okay.
It's like
my gripes. I have very specific ones because I'm a huge, massive Christopher Nolan fan.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's
like,
great.
My two favorite movies of all time are Inception and Interstellar, 2 Christopher Nolan movies. And Dark Knight is pretty high up there, but my issue is I think that Ra's al Ghul should have been gone after the first half, the training stuff. I don't think he should have come back.
Yeah.
I think it should have been just Scarecrow. I think it should start with Ra's and then go on to Scarecrow. I think mixing the two it just made it too messy. So that's like my main problem is I'm like once he comes back, as soon as he comes back, I usually turn the movie off. I'm like, okay, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to watch them fight on the subway, and it's
yeah.
But I still think it's good.
Mhm.
But then we have wow. See, I haven't looked at these. I'm kind of enjoying not looking at these matchups until now because it makes it funny. We have
Great.
Wonder Woman 1984 versus Catwoman with Halle Berry.
I'm gonna go with 1984 on this one,
I am too.
just because of Pedro Pascal.
I mean,
Like when I first saw it, keep in mind this movie was like delayed like 10 times,
yeah.
and like it got released on Christmas Day. And I watched it. I was like, wow, this is terrible. Like, what's going
Why
on?
is this so
I
bad?
know. It's like, what? And I remember the speculation of like who Pedro Pascal's character was gonna be in the movie. The main, it was gonna be Maxwell Lord, but a lot of people wanted him to be like Dr. Fate in it, and Pedro Pascal as Dr. Fate would have been so good. It was so great. But we got Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, which is even better, which I thought was loved it. But I Cheetah, I didn't like Cheetah. I hated how they essentially butchered a character in this.
Huge, yeah. Bad job
Yeah,
with.
and it's just like I hate the fact that like it just sits so wrong with me how they brought back Steve Trevor, but it's not really him. Like she only sees him as Steve Trevor. Everyone else sees him as like the guy who like was chosen to resemble Steve Trevor to Wonder Woman, and like he's not like himself essentially. That one random guy is like in a trance of like under like Wonder Woman's wish to wish Steve Trevor back, and it's weird for me because it feels very like unethical because like he's not conscious of what he's doing, and like he's being dragged around to like different places. They have relations in the movie, which is it really. I was like what do you like what? Because like you think about it, I'm like the guy's like not in control of his body, so I'm like okay, but I really did like Pedro Pascal's character in the movie. I really liked Simon Stagg was in it. I thought that was pretty cool. Immediate connection to Batman Arkham Knight. I thought it was cool to have Simon Stagg in it. But I just feel like they could have done a lot more with it. Um, but Pedro Pascal kind of saves it for me, honestly.
Yeah, I have no thoughts. I just thought it sucked.
Yeah, I just went on this huge tangent about it.
If you would have directed it, we could have had a.
Oh, it would have been great.
But yeah, I almost tuned out of that movie.
Yeah.
But all right, now we've gotten past these little preliminary rounds. Superman with the first one with Christopher Reeves. I have it versus Batman Begins. You have it versus Watchmen.
I'm gonna go with Superman, honestly. It's like
I have controversial. I like as someone who loves Superman. I don't like those movies.
Really? Oh no!
I like the theme.
Oh yeah.
But I don't like those movies.
Oh,
I just think they're just. I don't like them at all. Maybe I might try and watch 1 through 4 just to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen 1 and 2, but yeah, I'm Batman Begins for sure.
Alrighty.
Aquaman versus V for Vendetta. I have not seen V for Vendetta. I think it's supposed to be really good.
I did. I watched it a while ago, so I remember bits and pieces of it. But I am gonna have to go with V for Vendetta because I liked Aquaman, but they're like the major thing that drags it down for me are like the song choices. Like
Okay,
Pitbull,
I agree.
and doing a cover of Africa by Toto. I was like, what? My main gripe with that movie were like the song choices, like in the beginning, Pitbull cover, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like visually, it's great. Visually, it's great. The story, as basic as it is, it's still great. I loved Ocean Master as a villain. I thought he was a super interesting character, and I love how they didn't kill him off at the end, save him for like Aquaman 2. Um, but it's very goofy, very corny. I just appreciate V for Vendetta more than Aquaman, definitely.
Yeah. I haven't seen V, so I'm obviously going to say Aquaman. One thing I'll bounce off of, and I'm about to go completely kind of somewhat off topic here, is like I completely agree because I'm a big soundtrack guy.
Mhm.
I love a good soundtrack, which is why kind of ties into Aquaman. But one of my main gripes for Black Panther 2 was when we first see I was going to call it Atlantis. What do they call it in Tech
Talokan?
Talokan. One of my main problems was it was such a great scene, but I wanted like a really good soundtrack piece and almost like a theme.
Yeah.
But we get like this like pop song, and everybody else loved the song. I think I'm in the minority, but I was like, damn. I was like, imagine like a really cool, because I especially love like aquatic themes.
Yeah.
Like I love Mario underwater music.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, imagine like a really cool. So yeah, that's really off topic, but I agree. I like soundtracks. I don't want songs, but Aquaman for me because I haven't seen it. But I decided since we did Into the Spider-Verse for the last one, I'd pick one animated movie that is critically acclaimed. So I picked Mask of the Phantasm versus Man of Steel. It's unfortunate it had to go against the GOAT here, but
Give me Man of Steel for this one.
Wait, I do. Mask of Phantasm is pretty great. I at least am
It is really good, but Man of Steel.
I agree. Quick, another controversial take. I think Mask of the Phantasm is overrated. I think it's overrated.
I thought I was going to be controversial on this, but you're taking the cake for this one.
I think it is good, but it is not that good. I think the villain is, I mean, it's basically, what is it copied in? The Mask of the Phantasm. It's basically copied in another piece of Batman media. I can't remember. Let me Google. There's something else. It's I can't find it, but there's another piece of Batman media where it's like, it's basically Mask of the Phantasm, but it's like a different villain. But yeah, it's good, but I think it gets a little bit too much credit.
Yeah, okay. Next one.
So we got Green Lantern versus Dark Knight Rises. There is no way. There is no way.
As much as I do not like Dark Knight Rises, but compared to Green Lantern, I have to go Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I like Green Lantern's like one of those movies like you just shut your brain off and just like laugh at it. It's a good time. I love how Taika Waititi's in it too. But it's just like it just butchers the character.
Yeah. Real bad.
Yeah.
I'm actually a big Dark Knight Rises guy. So I like Dark Knight Rises. So Dark Knight Rises for me. And we got Superman 3 versus Dark Knight. I haven't seen it. Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight, easy.
I put this one in almost as a meme, but I put Steel with Shaq because it's technically DC.
Yeah.
So Joker versus Steel.
Give me Steel. That's good. No, Joker all the way.
Joker.
Yeah.
Batman Returns versus Shazam.
Give me Shazam.
I'm gonna take Shazam.
Yeah.
Taking Shazam here. Now we have Superman 4 versus Superman Returns. Now Superman Returns is the movie with what's his name? He's actually in the CW now.
Brendan Routh.
Yeah. and I think he's actually supposed to be Christopher Reeves. I don't even
Yeah,
know.
it might be because I don't know. Is it something like in like Superman 4 or something that like ties into Superman Returns? I don't know.
I saw Superman Returns in theaters with my
Oh,
dad,
really?
and I have a lot of nostalgia. I played the video game. I loved this one as a kid. I don't really like it anymore, but
Yeah,
Superman Returns for me.
yeah, me too. Because Superman 4 is terrible. It's awful.
Now we have Justice League, not the Snyder Cut, just Justice League. I put both of them in here. Justice League versus Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, it's
They
they're both
they
so
both
bad.
they both suck.
They're both so bad.
I'm going with Justice League though, easily. It has some redeeming scenes.
I'm gonna go 1984 on this one.
Really? Okay.
Like,
Okay.
there's
I
so
mean,
much
it's
there's
not
so much gripe I have with that movie. Is like,
it's not good.
no, no, it is not.
Now we have Justice League Snyder Cut versus the newer Suicide Squad, the one with James Gunn and John Cena and all that. This is easy for me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Snyder Cut.
Okay. Oh, you did. Oh, yeah. I remember you didn't really like.
Didn't really like it all that much. It's not bad.
Yeah, I loved
But
it. I loved it. So good. They're both really good, but I am gonna also give it to the Snyder Cut because it has more in like sentimental value for me. Um, I thought Suicide Squad was really good, but I'm gonna give it the Snyder Cut.
okay. Now we have another one I haven't seen, Jonah Hex versus Suicide Squad, the earlier one, the Joker one with Jared Leto. I got to give it Suicide Squad because I haven't seen Jonah Hex, but
You're not really missing out on Jonah Hex. It is terrible. So we're going Suicide Squad.
Now we have Superman 2, have seen this one, versus Black Adam. I don't like either.
I'm gonna say Black Adam just because of Dr. Fate and Hawkman.
I was going to say Superman 2, but you've convinced me. I did like those characters. You have swayed me. I'm going to go with Black Adam 2. Also, not the slowdown scene with what's this turning into black or whatever the song is.
Paint Black.
Paint Black. I hated that scene.
So cool.
But the scene I hated that scene. But the scene before that, where he's just like killing dudes, was so good.
Yeah, that was sick.
I love that scene. So for that alone, I give it to that. Batman Forever versus the Batman.
Give me the Batman.
The Batman. This is a movie I didn't know existed, Constantine, but it has good reviews, so I put it on here.
It's good.
Okay, yeah. It's got good reviews. Constantine versus Batman 89, the Jack Nicholson Joker Batman. I haven't seen Constantine, so I'm going to give it to Batman, but
I liked how Keanu Reeves plays Constantine. It's pretty cool.
oh, I've heard of that movie because people want him back. I need to watch that then. Okay.
I'm with Constantine on this one. Keanu Reeves is actually like pushing heavily for a Constantine sequel, even with like all like the changes in the DC. He just wants Constantine 2 to happen. So I'm gonna go with Constantine.
I need to watch that.
Great. I love it.
Birds of Prey versus Batman and Robin.
I'm going with Batman and Robin.
Really? Okay.
I just like. There's a lot of.
Actually,
you go ahead.
I'm gonna do the same just for the bat nips. just for the bat nips.
Like there are some aspects of Birds of Prey that I really liked. I liked Victor Zsasz. Ewan McGregor as Black Mask was great. I just hate how they killed him off. Like that ruined the whole movie for me. I'm like, wow, he just wastes these characters. But yeah, Batman Robin is just like funnier. It's like I have more sentimental value.
Yeah,
I watch it with like my group of friends, and we always rip on it. And we always watch it. It's a good time. It's a good time.
It's a fun bad
Yeah,
movie. Wonder Woman versus Batman versus Superman. It's unfortunate for the first Wonder Woman movie because it's not that bad.
yeah. I'm going with Batman versus Superman.
I am too. I
Easy.
am too. All right, now we'll go. We'll finish this top side of the bracket. So I've got Batman Begins versus Aquaman, and you have Superman versus V for Vendetta, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, Superman versus V for Vendetta. Give me Superman.
Okay. I'm pretty surprised it's made it this far, but I'm gonna go with Batman Begins.
Okay.
It's yeah, I don't dislike it, but I don't really like it all that much.
Mhm.
It's actually I do. I think I hate on it so much because of how much I like the other two, but I like
Mhm.
it good enough. So then after that, I have Man of Steel. Oh no, yeah, we both have Man of Steel versus Dark Knight Rises.
Give me Man of Steel.
This hurts me because I love The Dark Knight Rises. The only thing that takes that movie back for me is the awful dying scene of
Oh yeah.
that hurts it. I have a friend who literally dislikes the entire movie because of that scene. He says I'm not kidding. He's like, I don't like the movie because of that scene. I was like, what about the other stuff? And he was like, it doesn't matter. That scene's too bad. And it's like, well,
Understandable.
I love Tom Hardy's Bane.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
love it. I love his Bane so much. Like me and one of my other friends quote him all the time. Like the scene where he's like with the other guy. He's like, "Do you feel in charge?" Like, I love Tom Hardy's Bane. So after that, we have the Joker versus Dark Knight.
Give me Joker. Yeah, give me Joker.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe it. I saw it coming though. I saw it coming. Dark Knight. So then Shazam versus Superman Returns.
You already know where I'm going with this. Give me Shazam.
My nostalgia makes me want to pick Superman Returns because I have a ton of nostalgia with that. But I have rewatched it not that recently, but recently enough, and I was like, wow, I don't like this movie. So I hate what's his name's Lex Luthor. What's his name?
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. I hate his Lex Luthor. So I'm gonna go with Shazam too.
Hey.
So now I've got Dark Knight Rises versus Batman Begins, and you've got wait. I think I've got this wrong. I've got Dark Knight Rises. Or no, I've got Man of Steel versus Batman Begins. Okay. I was looking at this wrong. I've got Man of Steel versus Batman Begins. You've got Man of Steel versus Superman.
Man of Steel.
Superman v Superman.
Give me Man of Steel.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, Man of Steel. Man of Steel. No question. And then you've got Joker versus Shazam, and I've got the Dark Knight versus Shazam.
Give me Shazam.
Okay.
Super biased.
Dark Knight.
Super biased.
Dark Knight. So then I've got two of my favorite comic book movies of all time. I mean, I would say they're both in my top three. Dark Knight versus Man of Steel. And you've got Shazam versus Man of Steel.
As much as I love Shazam, they gotta go with Man of Steel.
I think Dark Knight is actually not even close. I think it's not even close. It's the better movie. I don't even think it's a debate. I think it's the best comic book movie ever made, and I don't even think it's close. But for me, I got to go with Man of Steel.
Yeah,
Man
let's
of Steel.
go.
Yeah. As a personal pick, I love Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I don't think, it's the better movie. I just think Dark Knight has so much. Heath Ledger's Joker and just everything. The sound, but also the soundtrack of Man of Steel is insane.
Yeah. Hans Zimmer against Hans Zimmer.
They're both Hans
Mhm.
Zimmer. I don't even know which one's better. They're both too good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we've got that figured out. Now we'll go to the bottom side of the bracket. I've got Justice League versus Justice League Snyder Cut. And you've got wait, did you pick oh yeah, you picked Snyder Cut. So you've got Wonder Woman 1984 versus Snyder Cut.
Oh my god, it's such a hard pick. Give me Snyder Cut. All day, any day.
I'm gonna pick the original over Snyder Cut.
Fair enough. There are people who say that they prefer the original over the Snyder Cut, which is outlandish.
The only thing I'll give them is it takes a full week to finish the Snyder Cut, so I kind of understand that.
Yeah.
But Snyder Cut's better. I also will say about the Snyder Cut, it could have been cut down a lot. Like there's like this one scene, I can't even remember, of like it's in like the slowest of slow motions of Aquaman walking out, and it's got this weird girl singing in the background.
I understand that.
Did we need that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that could have been cut out. Yeah.
So then we got the Suicide Squad with Jared Leto versus Black Adam.
Black Adam. Give me Black Adam.
I don't like either of these movies. I think I gotta go with Black Adam. I think if Jared Leto's Joker had a chance, he could have been okay. That's a controversial take.
I mean, yeah, if you had a better script, better design, better directing, he would have killed it.
I think he wasn't as bad as everyone says. He wasn't good, but he wasn't as bad as everyone says.
Definitely.
So then The Batman versus Constantine for you, and for me it's The Batman versus Batman 89.
I have to go with The Batman. Unfortunately.
The Batman for sure. And then we both have Batman and Robin versus Batman v Superman.
Batman v Superman.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
All right.
After that, it's the Snyder Cut versus Black Adam for both of us.
I mean, you gotta give me Snyder Cut, honestly.
Snyder Cut easily for me. And then The Batman versus Batman v Superman.
This is where it gets hot. Give me Batman or Superman.
Oh, no.
No hesitation. Give me Batman or Superman.
No hesitation.
Super ridiculously hot take.
That is super hot.
Yeah.
Now, are you talking about the Ultimate Edition?
Always the Ultimate Edition.
Eventually, I think we're going to try and review a lot of comic book movies. That'd be a lot of fun. There's going to be an in-depth discussion about that movie because I've told you I both love and both hate that movie. There's a lot of things, like some of my favorite scenes from any comic book movie ever. I mean, when they're fighting, that's just like one of my favorite scenes ever. But then, we've got Lois chasing the spear and what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Yeah, we'll talk about that more in depth sometime. But
I'll have like a full 6-page essay on it.
That's a rabbit hole to go down.
It is. If you ever, a lot of I always thought like everyone like saying like what's your favorite Superman movie, like superhero movie. I'm gonna say like it's fair warning because like if you ask me this, I'm gonna go on this huge tangent about it, and I always do.
Fair enough. So then I have Snyder Cut versus The Batman, and you have Snyder Cut versus Batman v Superman.
Give me Batman versus Superman.
I think I would pick that too. I don't know. I have to think about it. I think I might pick Batman v Superman over Snyder Cut, just for the fact of how damn long the Snyder Cut is. I've got The Batman versus Snyder Cut. The Batman easily for me, which is funny because, I mean, I prefer The Dark Knight way. I think people that say The Batman is better than The Dark Knight need to be exiled and need to... I think they're absolutely insane.
Consider me insane.
But it's still awesome, and it's going to be facing Man of Steel for me, and you're going to have Man of Steel versus Batman v Superman. I've got Man of Steel versus the Batman. Is this tough for you, or do you?
Very tough for me because
Okay.
I love both of them. Man of Steel, I really like how I did his origin, and I love how he spent a good amount of time on Krypton as it's being destroyed. I really love that. Michael Shannon as General Zod is it's best comic book movie villain of all time, in my opinion. The best. Yes.
Really?
The best. Yeah, I think he was phenomenal as General Zod.
Over Heath Ledger's Joker? Over Thanos?
Oh yeah, over any area. I think Joker is so overrated.
Whoa!
The Joker as a villain is so overrated.
Oh, as a villain?
Yeah, as a villain, not as a villain. Like, don't get me wrong, Heath Ledger did a really good job, but the Joker as a villain. Whenever I see a Batman comic or like a movie or something with like the Joker being the villain, I'm like, get it out of here. Like I'm like, I am tired of the Joker.
Okay. I think I agree and I disagree because he's way overused. Yeah. I don't want him in the Batman. I don't.
Oh my God. If they have him,
I want other villains, dude. Like I love, dude, because I think Heath Ledger and Mark Hamill's Joker, like they're so great. Yeah. He's so great. Like I love the Arkham video games because of the Joker. Like I think the Joker is an amazing villain, but you are totally right. He is insanely overused. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. As regards to Thanos, easily Michael Shannon over Thanos. Easily. Oh my God. Best of the best.
Okay. I do love his General Zod though. I'm not taking that away.
I didn't even answer the question. Menace.
Oh yeah, you gotta pick.
Damn. I'm gonna go with not Man of Steel. Batman or Superman over Man of Steel.
Okay.
There's a lot of things I really love about Man of Steel, but like, there's a lot of things for Batman or Superman that I really love that will continue in a different episode later down the line. I love the nightmare sequence. I love.
Oh, me too.
I love how like the beginning connects directly to Man of Steel. We see Bruce Wayne's perspective. I love that. I love the Batmobile chase. I love Batman's training sequence. It's like a lot of things I really love about the movie. That like, if keep talking about it, this podcast will be like 6 hours long.
I agree. I love the nightmare sequence too. I think people that complain about him having guns need to shut up. I think,
yeah,
like, oh, Batman doesn't use guns. Oh, shut up. It's cool.
Right,
okay?
Exactly.
It's not. It's in a nightmare scene. It's I don't know. I'm all into change and have fun with it. So, I agree. But I've got Man of Steel beating the Batman. The Batman's awesome, but if Man of Steel is beating Dark Knight, then it's obliterating the Batman for me. So,
all right. So, is that the end of the bracket?
That's
Oh
it.
shit.
Yeah.
Okay, that was quick. Yeah.
Yeah, the other, I mean, everything else we've had, I think 64,
Mm,
and here we had
yeah.
34. And I had to kind of stretch it with Jonah Hex and Steel with Shaq. So
Yeah.
I had to, there's just not as much. I mean, like I said, there's older stuff like the Swamp Thing movie, but I haven't seen
Yeah.
that,
Me neither.
and I just kind of left that out. Maybe it's good, but
Understandable. Understandable. But yeah.
yeah, that's our Shazam DC little
Yeah.
episode there.
Before we end everything off, two news announcements in the world of DC comic books, at least.
Oh yeah.
First things first. Speaking of Zack Snyder and his DC movies, yesterday Zack Snyder teased a little video on his Twitter, suggesting that something from Lord Darkseid, as it says, to save the date of April 28th to the 30th. That's it. That's all the context we get. A lot of people are obviously saying like, "Oh my God, the Snyderverse is back." It's not. It is not. Another detail I like to add, like the caption for the video, he said hashtag full circle. So it might have something to do with his story of like Justice League or whatever. But I highly doubt that the Snyder cut is coming back and or being sold to Netflix or whatever random hashtag there is out there.
No, I have a
What's your
theory.
theory?
Um, I feel like a lot of people don't know, but what's the director that did Lost and did the final Star Wars movie? James Abrams.
Mm.
James, is that his name? James
J.J.
Abrams.
Abrams, yeah.
J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams. He wrote a Star Wars comic one time. I could see Zack Snyder writing a Darkseid comic.
Oh,
That's my theory. I don't think it'll connect to the Snyderverse. I think it's just going to be a Darkseid comic. That is my bet right now. Because I think James Gunn is doing his
yeah.
own thing, and I don't think he wants any convoluted stuff. So if he's truly doing something Darkseid related, I think it's going to be a comic.
I have three theories, and one of them actually kind of ties in to what your theory is. Theory A lot of people are saying that it's a convention of sorts. It could, or like an exhibit, an exhibit. Because I remember a while back, Zack Snyder did do an exhibit of like his Justice League story, like his like first like rough draft of it. Um, a lot of people didn't like it, especially with the Lois Lane Batman love story thing, where Lois Lane was pregnant with Batman's child, and that
Oh, I
yeah,
forgot
and
about that.
that
What the hell?
I hated that. I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, nah, but no. So it might be like an exhibit or like a convention of sorts, maybe fully like Zack Snyder or just like a part of something. A lot of people saying like something called Justice Con. Maybe it might be something like that. My second theory is Zack Snyder likes to do this, where like he does like watch parties. So like I remember a while back he did a watch party of Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel. Um, you just go in and watch it. You like go live, watch the movie, and like talk about like different parts of the movie and like explain parts of the movie, which I really liked. Because I watched it. You get more in depth interpretation with like each of uh the scenes essentially. And I remember when we were there, he was doing one with Batman or Superman. He saw like the Rotten Tomato score got 27%, and Zack Snyder was like, "That's just rude." So it might be a watch party of like one day is Man of Steel, the other day is Batman or Superman, and the last day is his cut of Justice League with like an announcement at the end, maybe of something.
Yeah.
Or kind of like we said, the comic book wise, I've always said that like if anything, they should continue like the Snyder universe in comic form, like have it like a DC Black Label series or like anything like that. Uh, hopefully it's like that, or like they continue in like like an Elseworld animation style. But there's also the thing of like how could that like span out of like 3 days? So that's the one I'm hoping for the most, that like they can like a continuation either in animation form or in comic form, or like Zack Snyder, like you said, writing a comic for it. I'm all for it. But that's all we got for now. That's all, like, the
Yeah.
context. Uh, that's basically it. But yeah, that's our kind of our, like, speculation on it. And right before I recorded this, where we recorded this episode, I saw um, a reporter interviewed Ben Affleck about his possibility of returning to the DC universe, because James Gunn did say he talked to Ben Affleck about directing a DC movie, and it was said that he was asked that again: would you ever return to DC to either direct or star in it? And he said absolutely not. Like, he would never do something like that again. And I thought it was interesting because, like James Gunn said, like, he's talked to Ben Affleck about directing a DC movie. But in this interview that just came out, like, right before this podcast recorded, that he would, let me pull up, see if we can pull it up. Where is it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he did talk to Ben Affleck, but Ben Affleck was just like, I mean, I don't blame him. It's just the DCU is such a mess, and he was supposed to direct his own Batman movie
Yeah.
with Deathstroke, which I wanted really bad. So I don't blame him. Like, just, cut ties, move on.
Right. So, and it says here, so the guy asked if DC came to you and said, would you want to direct something? Ben Affleck said, I would not direct something for the James Gunn DC universe. Absolutely not. I have nothing against James Gunn. Nice guy. Sure, he's going to do a great job. I just wouldn't want to go in and direct in the way that they're doing that. I'm just not interested in that. So he also goes on a tangent, or not a tangent, but he goes on to say how terrible his experience was with, like, the Justice League reshoots for the Joss Whedon version of Justice League, and how, like, that kind of cemented his disdain for that, and, like, him, like, never wanting to return to Batman ever again. Even though he's in Batman for The Flash and Aquaman. I don't know if he's still in Aquaman, but it kind of sucks because it would have been cool to see Ben Affleck direct something like a Batman movie.
Yeah. I would have loved to have seen that movie.
But I guess since he has such, like, a horrible experience with it, you can't really blame him because, like,
no, I don't blame him.
And, like, a lot of almost everyone had a terrible experience. I know Gal Gadot said, like, how Joss Whedon threatened her career because, like, how much she hated, like, doing the reshoots and stuff like that.
Yeah, the whole thing seemed like a shit show. Just all of it. So I don't blame him.
But yeah, those are, like, the two little news tidbits that I thought would be interesting to talk about. With that being said, is there anything else you want to say about, like, just the episode as a whole, or is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, I mean, I'm excited. I'm gonna try and see Shazam. I mean, I'm gonna look at tickets after this. I might try and see it tonight too. I'll see it at least by Sunday, so I'm excited to see Shazam. Next episode we'll review it. And yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. I'm seeing, when I bought my tickets, I was like, I wasn't regretting it, but I was like, it was so expensive. It was $30 for 2 tickets.
Dude, movie tickets are getting wild. Yeah. Like, it's getting crazy.
And I hate how there's, like, an online fee. Like, for what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, like, the purpose of an online fee. But
yeah, movie tickets are getting absolutely insane.
I was like, oh. Well, it's fine. I'm seeing it at 420, so I'm excited for it. Even though if it's terrible or not, I'm still gonna love it because it's Shazam, and I love Shazam. A lot of people don't like the new suit of Shazam.
I haven't really even seen it.
It's like more like slimmed down. The lightning bolt doesn't glow anymore. I think it's an improvement of the original one, but as always, I'm in the minority of these opinions. But I'm excited for it. I'll definitely message you my like very vague thoughts about it, and we'll go in depth about it next episode next week.
Yeah.
With that being said, guys, you can follow the podcast on Twitter and on TikTok at ComicsRTW. Definitely follow us. We'll be posting clips showing off different. I know Woody does different hauls. I'm gonna post more, showcases of the different keys I have in my collection. I have spring break next week, so I'm gonna be cranking out a lot more content. Follow on our Twitter to keep updated on whatever the podcast is, what we're going to talk about in the podcast, or just like the podcast in and of itself. So where can they find you on the world of the internet?
I haven't been doing it a lot lately. I've just been busy, but I stream on Twitch at Woody307, and then just follow our Twitters and TikToks for the podcast, because that's where I don't really post anything anywhere else. I just some stuff for the podcast account, some cool comics related stuff.
Yeah. All right. And you guys can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Orion Scott Comics. And with that being said, guys, let us know what your favorite Shazam comics are. Who are your favorite members of the Shazam family? Might as well just leave that down. Your thoughts of the movie, or if you guys get the chance to see it, or your thoughts of the first Shazam movie. Do you think that the Zach Levi will continue as Shazam in the new DCEU, or DCU now being called? Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
But with that being said, guys, make sure to have a great day as always. And remember that comics run the world. All right. See you later.